Hello, welcome back to Pin My Podfic. This will be the reading of Zutopia, Chapter 7, A Love Letter to the Princess by Itslivybear. This is the chapter summary. Another adventure at the park, and a talk and game with Yagi and Night-Eye. The next time Ochako saw Midori after the fun dinner was in the park again on a Saturday. Explody was there too. Her eyes widened as the explosions coming from his palms and the green boy clearly running in fear. And she quickly whipped off her jacket, tying the arms together before running up to her classmate, wrapping it around him, and then floating him off the ground. Round cheeks, what the fuck? You've lost ground privileges. Midori slowed to a stop and blinked at her, taking in her quirk with wide eyes. He rushed up to her, and she blinked when he began to talk. Oh my gosh, is that your touch base? Some sort of gravity negation? It looks like since he's floating and you had to tie something to him so he wouldn't float off. Explody twisted and writhed in the air to no avail, not even able to grab onto the jacket to lower himself down. Let me go, you bitch! She frowned up at him. No way, you were trying to hurt Midori and that's not cool. He sneered. Deku's fucking useless. Why would you defend him? Her eyes blazed in indignation. He's not useless. Just because he's quirkless, if you're picking on him for that, then you're being a villain. Bakugo blinked at her. Midori blinked at her. She blinked back at them. Oh yeah, it's called zero gravity. You're really smart, Midori. He was shaken out of his stupor by her compliments, and he flushed, sputtering and shaking his hands, just like that day in the supermarket. She gave him a toothy grin and giggled. I'm not a villain. He was uncharacteristically quiet, but his eyes were blazing with determination. She raised her eyebrow in disbelief. If I let you down, will you attack Midori? No. She nodded once and handed the jacket off to Midori before tapping her fingers together. Release! Midori's eyes were sparkling as she untied her jacket from the more solemn blonde and shrugged it back on. He was bouncing up and down, sending not-so-subtle glances at her hands, and she extended them with a giggle. He went off on the motor storm, and she couldn't hear a word he was saying as he traced her finger pads and squished her hand. He cut himself off sheepishly. Sorry, that was probably creepy. Nope. She shook her head. It was flattering you think something this simple is cool. He nodded, eyes sharp. You could be a great rescue hero if you wanted. You could negate the weight of debris, or make it easier to carry an injured person. Or if you can float yourself, you could use something like a jetpack or a grappling hook to have increased mobility and get places really fast. Heck, if you had Kachan, he could just blast you to where you need to go. If he was weightless, he could fly through the air faster than before. He whirled to the quiet, explosive boy and immediately continued to his assault. Kachan, you've been looking for aerial help, right? Uraraka could help you with that, since she could just make you like a kite, and then you practice being in the air. Then maybe later you won't need her, but that would probably be good quick practice for her too. He trailed off, looking down and muttering to himself, and she giggled again, nudging the shocked blonde. Pretty crazy how he went from terrified of you to offering you tips. He must think of a lot of you. Her expression fell, and steely determination took over. But if I find you hurting him again, I really will make you a kite, and then I might forget to let you down. Got it? Red eyes met her, and the boy gulped, nodding. Got it. He managed to scratch out. She grinned again. Good. Now, Midori, you want to play with us on the playground? Green eyes met hers, and the boy grinned. Yeah. The next day was their now weekly visit to All Might. Oh yes, Izuku had known immediately who it was upon seeing the man, injury or no. He was a big fan and could probably pick the real All Might out of a crowd of lookalikes, no sweat. Did he freak out about bullying the symbol of peace a little? Yes, but only after the fact, and he was far more glad the number one hero was going to be taking care of himself. He sat with the bedridden hero while Nedzu and Night-Eye chatted about things, probably cases. He cocked his head when there was a lull in conversation. I know the commission wants to keep the fight you had a secret, but I did some digging. Young Izuku, he flustered. Please, you're a young child. You shouldn't be looking into this. Izuku blinked at him, then continued. So, I did some digging, and I got some accounts. Is it true the person you were facing had multiple quirks? All Might blustered, clearly not wanting to answer any of his questions, but after exchanging a tired glance with the other two heroes in the room and getting nothing more than unsympathetic glances and an eerie smile, he was getting no help from them. And Izuku just kept prodding. Yes, he did. That makes sense. Well, it doesn't, since people generally only have one quirk, but you're really strong, so it would take someone with multiple quirks to injure you this much. Was it all for one? He flinched. Where did you hear that name? Izuku shrugged. The internet. Like I said, I did some digging. He perked up satisfied with the answer he had gotten and grinned at Nedzu. We brought a game, didn't we? Nedzu smiled. Yes, we did. Night-Eye. Would you be willing to join us for a game? The Foresight hero raised an eyebrow. I suppose. What is it? Nedzu's eyes twinkled. Izuku, you've played once before. Would you like to explain? He grinned. Yes. He settled next to All Might, sliding the cards out of the cloth bag and leaving the little tokens inside. He passed out an information card to each of the heroes who hadn't played before, and then started lightly shuffling the deck. This game is called Love Letter. You're trying to get your love letter to the princess to win her favor, and you have various cards you can do them with. Looking at your information card, I'll go from the top down. The princess is the best and highest card in the game, at a worth of 9, but you can never play or discard her, or you're out and you automatically lose. Next is the Countess, worth 8. Her special ability is that if you also have the king or one of the princes, you must discard her, but it doesn't make you lose. You just no longer have that high value card. Next is the king. If you play him, you switch your hands with another player. Next are the chancellors, and from here there are multiples of each card. 2 unless I say otherwise. The chancellors allow you to draw 2 cards from the deck. Keep one and put your remaining 2 cards on the bottom of the deck in any order you'd like. Next are the princes, and playing him will force another player, including yourself, if need be, to discard their current hand and redraw. For those of us who are keeping track, the king is worth 7, the chancellor 6, and the prince 5. Next, at 4, is the handmaiden card. If you play her until your next turn, any card that targets another player, like the king and the prince, or the others we haven't gone over yet, those cards cannot be played on you and must target someone else. At 3 is the Baron, and you play him and pick another player, and the 2 of you must compare cards. Whoever has the lower point value loses and is out of the game, and they must discard their hand. At 2 is the Priest, and playing him lets you look at another player's hand. At 1 are the Guards, and there are 6 of them. Playing them, you pick another player and guess what they have in their hand, with the exception of the guard. If you're right, they discard and are out. If you're wrong, nothing happens. At 0 points is the Spy. There are 2 Spy cards in the game, and if you're the only one still active player alive in the end of the game and with a Spy, you get a favor token regardless of whether or not you won the princess's favor. Everyone starts with 1 card, and on their turn, draw another from the deck. There will also always be 1 card out of the game, so you don't totally know what's in and what isn't. Anyone have any questions? All Might blinked. So we want to have the highest card discarded? Izuku shook his head. No, you want the highest card in hand. If you play or discard a high card, you should generally have a good reason for it, because whoever has the highest value at the end wins the favor of the princess. Sir Night-Eye nodded. And to clarify, if someone plays the spy and is later taken out, they do not count for the spy token. Yep, you have to be alive, so to speak. Nedzu smiled widely. Well then, since we all know what we're doing, let us begin. The first to 3 tokens wins. Playing a Baron was always a risky move, Izuku knew, but when you had the Countess, you really almost had no one that could beat you, and you didn't want to play her if you didn't have to. So Izuku felt confident when he used it on Sir Night-Eye. They slid their cards across the bed to each other, careful not to let anything show. They both looked blank-faced. They silently passed them back, and Izuku flipped up the Countess, eyes never leaving Night-Eye's. Oh ho ho! Nedzu chuckled, laying down a card. Night-Eye, you wouldn't happen to have a princess, the only card higher than the Countess, would you? Still staring at Izuku, dead silent, Night-Eye revealed the card Izuku had already seen. Nedzu won that round. Izuku bit his lip, looking at the cards that had already been played. It was between him and Nedzu, and he had the last draw. The king. The Countess had already been played, taken out by having a prince in hand as well, much to All Might's dismay. So the only card that could beat him was the princess. One card was out of the game, but the 2 cards he didn't have, other than the Baron he had drawn and was not keen on using, were the princess and a guard. He could use the Baron if Nedzu had the guard, and then he would win. Then again, if Nedzu had the princess, he should use the king and swap their hands. There was only one right answer, but Izuku didn't know what it was. He didn't have a spy out, so he didn't gain anything from trying to preserve his life by risking the king. But Nedzu did. He had to take the risk. I'm baroning you. Are you sure, Izuku? Yes. Since they were the only 2 left, and it was the last play anyway, they both flipped up their cards. Izuku leapt up to his feet, whooping, while Nedzu chuckled, handing over another favorite token. Well done, Izuku, he murmured. Well done. He buzzed in anticipation while he drew his last card. All 4 of them were still in this round, but it had gotten very close. The 2 barons had both ended in a tie, meaning no one died, and no one had successfully been guarded, but Night-Eye would be the last to draw and play, and everyone was nervous. Izuku especially, because he had the princess and the 2 spies besides, guaranteeing him a token if he lived. He looked up at the card he drew, and he grinned, plopping it down triumphantly. Handmade! Night-Eye cursed. They ended up playing more rounds than just whoever got to 3 tokens first. Probably a total of 5 games, and they all did fairly well. It was part luck after all, even if being able to weigh options and probability was equally important. The sun was setting by the time they put the game away, and Izuku lingered behind a little bit, looking at the injured hero with wide eyes. You've been keeping up with your physical therapy and diet, right? All Might smiled. Yes, I have, thank you. I'm feeling better already. Izuku doubted that. With the 2 missing organs, but whatever, if the adults wanted to sugarcoat things, by all means. When they were on the train, Nedzu plopped beside him. He hummed to himself. What's on your mind, my friend? The person who injured him. I was wondering what gave rise to a person like that. Nedzu nodded, delighted. And what are your thoughts? Izuku hummed again, looking down at his hands. I think there's a lot of focus on quirks now. Someone with a powerful quirk basically has life handed to them. if he really was all for one, the boogeyman who could take and give quirks, then I think he's today's society's worst nightmare. And to someone like me, or with a quirk they don't want, he looked out the window, squinting. I think he'd be hope. Nedzu didn't respond, letting him gather his thoughts. I don't think he'd do anything for free, though. Even if he looks appealing on paper, there's no way someone like that would just give someone like me a quirk, or exchanging quirks with someone who didn't like theirs. There would always be a cost. Very insightful. How do you think we could get rid of him if he were still a problem? Izuku thought for a moment. I think we could only really get rid of him if we took away his power. And I don't mean his quirk. I mean, he preys on society, so we just have to change society. Nedzu smiled to himself. Quite right, Izuku. Perhaps we can look at ways to change society tomorrow. Izuku grinned at his friend. Yeah. And that was it for A Love Letter to the Princess, which is chapter 7 of Zutopia by Itslivybear. And yes, the author's note says, baby's first steps into world domination. Yes. And they say, welcome to world domination part 1. Yes, world domination. Izuku, just, it's such. I've read this fic fully already, like a couple times now, and yeah, I just really love this. And I think I don't know, the voice I use for All Might will be changing and stuff, because sometimes I just can't do it, and sometimes I just can't remember. So yeah, if any voices are different, it's because I can't remember, or there's other voices in the same scene that are very similar. So it's mainly just about expression and tone of voice, not, how I read. My type of voice acting is tone of voice, confident or shy. How do they act and that stuff. So I'm sorry if you get mixed up. So have a good whatever rest of your day, or whatever time of day it is, and hydrate or die straight.